Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, Kelly and I are here to talk to you guys about our June reading month.
Yes.
Give you all of our good reading stats and wrap up all the books that we read. Well, all the books that Kelly read, because as per usual, she was an insane overachiever.
I don't mean to be. That's not my goal. I'm just reading. She thinks I'm here to show her up every time, and that is not.
She is.
It is not the case. It is not.
It is.
It's not.
One of these months, if I ever read more books than you, I guarantee y'all are going to see it. You're going to see it.
Okay, sure. It's never going to happen because I'm better.
Anyway. Now that my point's been made.
Whatever. Just talk about your stats and be quiet.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Now we're just being rude. Alright, so June. I distinctly remember in our May reading wrap-up video that I said I wanted to do better in June as far as reading goes, because I think I had only read one extra book outside of book club books for May. Well, I didn't do better. I also only read one extra book in May, so total of 3 books, 2 of which were book club related. So, Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. The 3rd book I read in June was John Dies at the End by Jason Pargin?
No.
I'm not sure how you say his name, but anyway, yeah, I was very excited to read this book just because of the cover. That's the main reason why I picked up this book, and also the back of it. It made it sound like it was going to be a really, really funny and weird, but funny read, so we'll talk about that a little bit later, whether I agree or not.
Doesn't sound like she does.
I'm not very good at hiding my emotions, okay? Out of these 3 books, there were 2 3-stars and 1 2-star. So that gave me an average rating of 2.7 stars for the month of June. Yeah, that's what I said as well. So,
yeah,
it was a rough one.
Sounds like maybe that's why you didn't read more, because what you were reading was not great.
It was.
For you.
I told Nick that earlier today, because I was like talking about how I only read 1 extra book this month, and I said I was going to do better. I'm blaming one of the books that I read, because it took me the entire month just to try and get through it. So
yeah, that has an effect. It does. It does, because when we were doing our blind date with a book, it took me over a week to read that book, and I was slogging through it, and yeah, I mean, I read nothing else. So yeah, I totally get that. But anyway,
I'm guessing you had a better reading month.
I did. I read 9. But I will qualify that as I get to it. But also I read Their Eyes Were Watching God and Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, so both book club books. And then I found out that one of my favorite urban fantasy series, which is the October Day series by Shannon McGuire, there is actually 2 books coming out later this year. I get the feeling from the description that it's like there's kind of 2 main characters, and so there's the main character that's always from her viewpoint is October Day, and I think the book that's coming out like a month after that is the same book, just told from a different viewpoint. So kind of like Twilight versus Midnight Sun kind of thing. So I think that's why they're coming out so close together. But there are 2 books already out that I have not read yet. But it's been so long since I read any of them, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back and start rereading. But I decided to start in the middle with one of my favorite installments and just kind of go from there. I really thought that would be good, but now I'm being reminded of all these really good things that happened before that. So I'll probably go back and start over. Anyway, long-winded to say, these are rereads that always goes faster, and each of these books is only like 350, 375 pages, and they're very easy action kind of books, so they go fast. I mean, I literally can read one in a day. So they're not hard to do. So this is not one that I read, but this is the next one that I'm reading. So that's kind of the one I read. I started with Ashes of Honor, which is book 6 in the series. And then I went on to Chimes at Midnight, and then The Winter Long, and A Rose Red Chain, and Once Broken Faith. So I read 5 books in this series. So 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I still am. I'm going to go ahead and read to the end, and then I'll probably pick up the previous 5 and go from there. But that's why they went fast, and that's why, I could basically read 3 of them in the time it would take me to read a new book the same time, kind of time frame. So that's kind of why that went so fast. And then I read Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. And
my newest favorite author.
My newest favorite author, yes, definitely. And then I read The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So that was my 9 books. I had, dear goodness, I had 2 5 stars and 1, 2, 3, well, obviously 7. Wow, math is hard. 7 4 stars. So I came out with an average of 4.2, which I'm very happy with.
Yeah, I would think so.
Very happy with that out of 9 books. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah,
good for you.
I know. Very happy. Well, I mean, it helps with the October Day series. I love that series, and I've read them I don't know how many times. I still love them. I mean, they're not perfect, and there's obviously, I mean, it's not like, I don't want to be offensive. We'll talk about it later, but they're not like deep reads, so
yeah.
They're not perfect by any means, but yeah, they're fun, so, Yeah.
Moving on to the next stat, we have longest and shortest book. So my longest book, I think, was John Dies at the End. I didn't double check this because looking at the books now, pretty close to the same size. So this one felt like it was like 1,000 pages long. Yeah, we'll get into that for a little bit. But I think it was John Dies at the End was my longest book, and then my shortest book was definitely Their Eyes Were Watching God this month. My average page length, or like book length for the month of June was about 375.
So like your total pages, like what, 1,100, 1,200
yeah.
pages, something like that?
11,000.
11,000? How about 1,100 maybe?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. It's like, dang, them some long books.
1,100, yep. I added in extra. I was trying to be impressive over here. Kelly's just over here, once again, just raining on the parade.
Like, dang, no wonder that's all you read. That's a lot of pages. Well, my shortest book was Their Eyes Were Watching God, which was only slightly shorter than Nettle and Bone. So it was really short too. It only like 230 pages, 235, something like that. But I beat it out. And the longest, I'm fairly sure, is this one. It was like 405 pages, my copy was. And I read all of the October Day books on my Kindle, so I don't know for sure, but I don't think there's any of them that top 400, so we're going to go with that. Anyway, according to my Goodreads stats, I read 3,182 pages for an average of 354, so that's pretty good. Yeah.
Moving on to authors. So, new to me authors that I haven't read from before was Jason Pargin. Wow, I cannot read. Jason Pargin and Zora Neale Hurston are two that I never read from before. I had read from Grady Hendrix, so he was a repeat author for me, and then obviously none of them were the same. And there weren't that I read 2 books from. So Yep. Pretty easy stats for me this video.
There you go. Yeah. So Also for me, Zora Neale Hurston was new. And, okay, so I read a book by Maggie Stiefvater a long time ago. Years ago. So, technically not, but I'm calling her new because it's been so long. I don't even remember the book I read. So, it's been that long. Other than that, T. Kingfisher, Grady Hendrix, and Shannon McGuire I've all read from before, and I read 5 Shannon McGuire books this month. So she was a repeat more than one way.
Nice.
Yeah. Hi, Penny.
Hi.
Come here, sis.
Come say hello.
Oh, come here. Oh, you don't want to? Come here. Oh, it's my girl.
Look at Miss Pen.
Hello, Penny. You say hello. She's not happy. You don't want to be here. I just came in to see what you're doing. Nope. No, you can't get on there, but you can get down. Okay. Here.
Alright, final stop. We have genres, so my favorite genre, horror thriller, won out this month, being the highest genre, I guess. I had 2 horror thriller books. John Dies at the End and Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and then I called Their Eyes Were Watching God just fiction, general fiction. So, there we go.
Glasses again. Okay, so I called this one classic. Literary classic. That's what I called it. There was that one, and this one, horror, of course. And all of the rest, the other 7, are fantasy. So that was easy.
Yep. So your favorite genre won out last month then too?
Yep.
For sure.
Yep, absolutely. And it probably most of the time will.
Yeah. So, moving on to our book discussions a little bit. So, I'm not going to talk about Their Eyes Were Watching God or Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I'm not going to go like super deep into talking about this one. I'm just going to say I didn't really like it. So, like I said, I picked it up expecting it to be really funny, like definitely weird, but I was expecting it to be just a fun, wild ride. It was a wild ride for sure, but I don't know if I would call it fun. It was just very weird. If you go into this book without thinking about what's happening, like what you're reading, like just don't think too hard about it, then you might enjoy it. Like you just clear your brain of everything, and then it might be okay. But it's just odd. So the whole premise behind the book, like what the book is about, there is, I don't even know how to describe this book. There is a guy named David Wong, and he is talking to this news reporter, this journalist, about how the world is in danger because there is this society of aliens in this other dimension that are starting to take people from our dimension and our world out and replacing them with their own people or their own thing. It's like, kind of think of like Close Encounters of the Third Kind sort of a thing, Body Snatchers a little bit. Yeah, I really don't even know how to explain it. I really don't. Like, it's just, it goes off on so many different tangents, and there's so many different, like, things that happen, just random weirdness. And there's these, we might have to come back to me. I might need to sit and think about how I want to describe this book. A lot of the book, you are following along through David's perspective, I guess. So it's not just like him narrating it to the journalist what had all happened. Like, you're living the events, and then like later it'll come back and he'll be like talking to the journalist, like, okay, does that make sense? And the journalist is just like, you are crazy. Like, this is nonsense. You've wasted my time. Like, I can't believe I'm here for all of this. John's character is really funny in the book. for sure. I really enjoyed him a lot. He's just so out there, ridiculous. Like, he thinks he is the best thing since sliced bread, but and he will tell you, and he loves to talk about his penis. Oh my god.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Always love that.
Yep, it's just one of the biggest ones you'll ever see, by George. And
So, is it kind of like Deadpool? I always got the impression it was supposed to be like that kind of humor, violent humor.
Yes. Yeah, it's similar to that. And yeah, if you just add in like really weird alien things, like not necessarily like outer space aliens, but just like unnatural to us things to Deadpool, then that's probably how it would
Probably.
describe this book. Yeah. Yeah, there are flying jellyfish hair pieces and dogs that just explode for no reason and then are back later, like they are back from the dead. There's people that explode because they get infected by little hairs that just fly through the air and then cover their bodies and hatch inside of them, and then you explode.
And see, hatching things inside again.
Yeah.
Your favorite thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's crazy. Like, I can't imagine what someone's brain was thinking to write this, but yeah. I want to watch the movie though.
Oh, well, there you go.
There is a movie. I almost wonder if watching the movie might be better in this scenario, because at least now I know what to expect from the movie when I go and watch it. Just like I know it's gonna be dumb, so I don't know. There definitely were some funny parts in it, and again, like I said, if you don't think too hard about what you're reading, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more. Because there are parts in here where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm an over-analyzer by nature, so sitting and reading a book where I'm not supposed to think is really hard. And yeah. So I think that's why I didn't enjoy it as much, because I just couldn't not think about what I was reading. But
That happens.
yeah, I feel like I explained it about as well as the book went.
As the book happened.
Yeah. It's really difficult to explain, I think, personally. I think that there's just so much more stuff that it's hard to explain, and you just need to read the book if you want to understand what's happening.
There you go.
I quit. I'm not gonna try.
I'm done now.
I'm done.
I'm all done.
Yep.
Okay, so I am also not going to talk about book club books that we had. So, also not going to spend a whole lot of time on the October Day books that I read, because with this ongoing series, if I talk about the books that I actually read, there's spoilers everywhere. So I'll just say that the series focuses on October Day. And it's not one of the urban fantasy series like everything in the kitchen sink is in there. Like, there's fairies and there's werewolves and there's vampires and there's whatever, you know. It's not that. It is simply the real world and fairy. That's all there is. And so, basically, October was living more of a human life. She had a human fiance. She had a daughter. They were going to get married. And then she was put on a job by, they call it her liege lord, the Duke, and gets fairies of feudal society. So the Duke is who she owes her allegiance to. And so she was out on this job, and the bad guy ended up turning her into a fish. And she ended up, this is set in San Francisco, so she ended up as a koi fish in the Japanese tea gardens for 14 years. Yeah. So the first book starts where she has just come back from the pond. She was released somehow. You figure that out later. But she was released, and this is her coming back, and she wants nothing to do with fairy or any of the people that she knew before. And of course that doesn't happen. She gets drawn back in. And so every book thereafter is a different sort of adventure situation, as it leads her further and further kind of in. And of course the relationships that she builds. And there's a lot of found family themes, in all of the books. The later books, there's a lot of representation in there as far as like gender and sexuality. Not a whole lot so much as in like race, but yet the world that she builds, it's like you can definitely see where she pulled from folklore, obviously, but she has sketched out this world where each of a different kind of fae has their own, they're like their own species, their own race. And the lore of the world is so cool. There's Oberon, who is the king, and then the two queens, the Summer Queen and the Winter Queen, Maeve and Titania, but they're missing. And then this society of fae has been locked out of the deeper realms of fairy, so they have to make do with the outskirts, and until the king and the queens come back, they're just locked out. And so that's kind of the world. And so there is some kind of racial tones to it, because every part of every different fae is like their own species. So there is some representation as far as kind of that goes. But it's really good. October herself is a changeling, which is, of course, in her case, half human, half fairy. Her mother was a fairy, her father was human, and there's a whole thing that goes along with that too. Changelings are basically seen as second-class citizens in this world and treated like really badly. So, I mean, if you want to kind of get into some racism, it's that, not so much color of skin with people, but that sort of thing. So anyway, in the first book, she gets pulled back in because there is a powerful duchess who had been her friend who was killed. And there's basically October is cursed, and she has to find out who killed this duchess, or countess, I guess she's a countess. And if she doesn't, then the curse will kill her. Oh. So that's kind of how she gets back in. And like I said, they're shorter books, maybe 350-ish pages each. They're very, very fast-paced. They're easy reads. Again, there's not, I don't want to be offensive. She does tackle deeper topics, but not in a deep way where you have to like read a page and then really think about what happened. They're very fast, easy reads, which is why I keep reading them so quickly. So that's the 5 of those. And then The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So if you've seen any of my Instagram, I went on a huge shopping spree, and because of that, I earned points and I got a free book, and I picked this one because I knew it was one of Amy's favorite books, and I enjoyed it a lot.
And it's a YA book.
And it's a YA book, and I don't normally like those, so I had to go on another little shopping spree to get the rest of them. But anyway, I read this, The Raven Boys. It is a story about 4 boys who go to this kind of private elite school. Sort of. Doesn't seem like they go to school a lot. But the mascot of the school is a raven. They're known as the Raven Boys. And so there's also a girl, a teenage girl who goes, she's from the town, and she goes to the public school. Her name is Blue, and she doesn't like Raven Boys. She thinks they're all stuck up and such. And these 4, at one point they end up going to where she works, and they do not do much to dispel the notion that Blue has of them. But anyway, these 4 boys. It's interesting. It's interesting. I'm not sure I completely bought into, like I said, they don't seem to go to school very much. And they basically, most of them live together in this warehouse which I guess maybe is what money can do for you. You can just basically do whatever you want. But anyway, they are actually, especially Gainsey, who is the leader of the boys, they're on a quest to find an ancient king, Glendower, who is kind of like King Arthur legend. And so they're researching magic and energy and ley lines and all of this, trying to figure out where this ancient king has been buried and to wake him up. And the legend has it, if you are the one to wake him up, then you get a favor granted. And one of the boys, Adam, is actually a scholarship student. He is from this town. So he's like really into this because he wants the favor. Gainsey is really into it because he just needs to know. Something happened when he was younger that put him on this path, and now he really just has to know if it's real, and he has to find him. Ronan, I'm not sure why he's there, but there's hints that there's more going on with Ronan than just kind of the surface of his kind of rebellious troublemaker kind of front. And then the fourth boy is Noah, and there's something up with Noah. I guess what it was pretty early on, because it was fairly obvious, but it was pretty cool in the end. And I really liked Blue's relationship with Noah. Anyway, Blue gets pulled into this because she's from a family of psychics, so she gets kind of pulled into all of this. So anyway, it's just them, bunch of teenagers kind of run around the countryside. So what I really appreciated was there was very minimal angst in this book. And that's what turns me off more than anything, is the romantic angst. There is a titch of romance. There is some angst to it, but not a lot. Basically coming from the fact that Blue has been told her entire life by every psychic she's ever met that if she kisses her true love, she'll kill him. And so she's kind of growing closer to one of the boys, and she's like getting a little angsty over that, but not a lot. I mean, it really focuses on the relationships between the boys and their searching and the things that they've done. And I really appreciate how it went back into fleshing out the boys and their attitudes and their backgrounds and things. It was really, really good. And it was just so cool. I just really like Gainsey's character and how he's just so not self-aware how rich he is, but he's trying to be. And I think Adam doesn't give him enough credit for that. But anyway, still, we can talk about it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's the first in 4, and so I do have all the other 3 now, and I will be continuing on because there's some pretty interesting things, like the very last line of this book, and I went, what? Alright, so anyway, yeah,
and
we'll be doing that.
There's another series that came out that's Ronan's perspective called Call Down the Hawk.
Really?
I believe so. So
Cool.
all about Ronan and his, you'll learn later what's up with Ronan and his stuff, and so then that book kind of branches off from there.
Cool. So anyway, I'm going to get this one down, The Raven Cycle, Maggie Stiefvater. Anyway, there we go. And the last one, my new favorite author, T. Kingfisher, Nettle and Bone, which is a kind of fantasy. It's not kind of, it is. It's fantasy with a tint of horror to it as well. I love this book. I love it so much. Basically, the description starts out with, this is not the kind of fairy tale where the princess marries the prince. This is the story, the kind of story where she kills him.
Yes. Here for it.
Yeah. So, anyway, the main character is Mara. She is the youngest of 3 princesses, and they live in a very small kingdom between 2 very large kingdoms. And her mother, especially, has been working diplomatically for years in order to keep them independent. Anyway, the prince of the larger kingdom comes in and basically wants to marry her oldest daughter, and there's no way they can say no without basically being invaded and taken over. So the oldest gets married. Before much longer, she's returned dead. And then the middle daughter is then married off to this guy, and she goes off. The youngest daughter, kind of for protection and such, is sent off to live in what is the equivalent of a convent. And actually, Mara is very happy with that. She's a very quiet person. She's unassuming. She's not like a sister. She's not a nun. She's just staying there.
Oh, okay.
But she kind of gets in with the healer of the place, and she learns a lot of herb lore and gets, medical skills. And anyway, she just really likes it. It's a nice, quiet life where she gets to garden and she gets to help the sister who is the kind of sister apothecary. So she really likes it. Well, she's called into the kingdom where her sister is the queen because she's having a baby and they're supposed to be there and all of that. And she gets her first hint that her sister's being abused by this prince, and that it's really evil things, not just because he's an abuser. There's other evil stuff going on. So she comes home and she doesn't know how to help her sister, and because she's such a quiet person who kind of is really content, it takes a little shoving, but she ends up going on a quest to save her sister. And that's where it is that she goes off. She thinks the only way this is going to happen, and to protect her own kingdom from being invaded, is to kill the prince and save her sister and save her king. Because the other thing is she's very aware. She knows, and her sister knows, that he killed their older sister. So, first of all, she's afraid that he's going to kill her sister. But
Right.
the other thing is, if he kills my sister, I'm next.
Right.
So, Mara goes off on this quest to figure out how to save her sister. And from there, it is just classic fairy tale kind of writing. There's such cool little elements, like she's sent off in the beginning to get the help of, they call it a dust wife, who are basically witches who look over cemeteries. They protect cemeteries, and they're witches, so they can do magic. And the more powerful this kind of cemetery is, the more powerful the witch is. And so she goes off to find that, and she goes on this quest where she has to do 3 impossible things, like making a dog out of bone, making a cloak out of nettles, catching moonlight in a jar.
Gotcha.
So anyway, she has to do all of that, and then they go to a goblin market, and the dust wife can call up the dead in order to give them directions. And the dog is alive. The dog made of bones and wire is alive. And it's sweet, but it's horrible, and it's really cool. And there's godmothers in here. That is just, the twist on godmothers is so cool, and I love it. And it is way too short. I wish it had been longer, because I think I could have easily been in here. But anyway, it's quirky, it's charming, it's a little bit horrific, it's dark, but it's very good. Very good. I loved it. So that was my last one.
I think that's it.
That is it.
That's it for our June monthly wrap-up. Wow, that
Yeah.
went actually fairly quickly.
Really quickly. I know.
Are you feeling okay?
I
You
didn't
didn't
have a
really
lot to
ramble today.
Well, yeah. 5 books I couldn't really talk about.
That is true. That is true.
2 I didn't need to talk about. You can go watch videos on those.
Yeah.
And, the others, this is me trying not to spoil things. Now, if I could spoil things, yeah, I'd still be talking. But, so anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, great. Well, if you guys enjoyed watching this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed, go on down below the video and hit that red subscribe button. Join the Everyday Adventure family and join us every Sunday for book videos like this.
That's right. And if you like the book stuff and you want to see more book stuff, obviously go check out her channel. But if you like other stuff too, I'm going to say stuff a lot. If you do like other stuff too, Amy's got plenty of other content on her channel. She's doing deep cleaning of her house, every room individually right now. She has done trying out meal boxes, snack boxes. Kitties are everywhere. and you can see fashion and travel and home decor and all kinds of stuff. Said I'd say it a lot. And if that's not enough for you, she has a blog as well that is even more content on it.
Oh,
so I know I'm trying out new words.
Yeah.
So go
it's
check that
like
out.
You read or something.
Almost. You wouldn't know it as much as I say stuff all the time. But yeah, you can find all kinds of other
Stuff.
All kinds of other, stuff on there as well. So go check it out. I'm sure there will be a link down below.
Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. And I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are
the Everyday Epic.
See you all in the next one.
Bye.